Hey, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my topical TBRs. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but if you're not familiar, I'll put the playlist somewhere so you can check it out. Basically, I've put together a few different lists of books sorted by particular topic that I would like to get to. There is not a certain timeline on any of these TBRs, but the goal would be to kind of try to consistently get through that list. The one that I'm talking about today is a kind of religion TBR. Specifically, this is focused mostly on Christianity, mostly liberation theology, or kind of adjacent theologies to that. I am interested to learn about other religions, especially like theology that they have that's kind of related to something similar to liberation theology, or just minority or LGBT perspectives in different religions. But right now I'm just starting with this because this is kind of aligned with my own religious interests. I grew up in Christianity and evangelical Christianity, and I don't associate with evangelicalism at all. I'm not even sure if I buy the idea of hell. The history of evangelism is just too much. Direct connections with racism and colonization, which some of these books address, as well as just everything that's gone on politically the past 5 years. I'm not here to tell anybody what to believe or what to read. This is just what I'm going to be reading. And I'll gladly take recommendations for anything related to any of this. But I'm going to start talking about the one book that I have that is not specific to Christianity. And that is Spiritual Activism, Leadership as Service by Alastair McIntosh and Matt Carmichael. This looks at spirituality as a whole, and kind of ties it in with activism. One of the things that I really liked is that at the end of each chapter they have a case study looking at an activist from a different faith and how they incorporated their spirituality into their activism. I thought that was pretty cool. So I plan on reading this. Next, I have one book. It's the only book that I have that's about a particular denomination. Obviously, all of these people come from their own specific denomination, so they're all set, But this is the only one where I got it with the intention of learning about the specific denomination. And that is Our Life is Love, The Quaker Spiritual Journey by Marcel Martin. I am very interested in Quakerism. I have not ever attended a Quaker church service, but I understand that they're very different. I'm not really sure how I would feel about it, being a very socially anxious person. However, hearing a lot of Quakers talk has really made me interested in this. I've looked up Quakerism a couple of different times, but I think one of the biggest kind of rabbit holes that I went into was after hearing Jessica Kellgren-Fozard, who is a lesbian disability activist. Listening to her talk about that, and then I kind of found another channel and kind of went down the rabbit hole. The whole idea of the light within and kind of focusing on that aspect of the Holy Spirit in everyone. I really jive with that. And historically, a lot of them have been activists. Not that everybody who has been a Quaker has been, excellent by any means. But that's another reason why that particular denomination is interesting to me. This is a history of Quakerism, but it's kind of told from a spiritual perspective. So that sounded pretty neat. Next, I have a couple that are history related. I'll start off with the one that I am part of the way through reading and hope to finish, and that is The Color of Compromise, The Truth About the American Church's Complicity in Racism by Jamar Tisby. The title is kind of self-explanatory. It looks at kind of the history of racism and how the church is directly tied with why slavery got to the point that it did. It talks about the people who were complicit and people that used the Bible in order to oppress people, basically. I'm only a couple of chapters in, but it's got a lot of really important stuff, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. The other book that I have that is history kind of related to the United States, is Divine Rebels, American Christian Activists for Social Justice. And each chapter looks at a different activist. There's civil rights activists, climate activists, that sort of a thing. Next, I get into some liberation theology texts. So, of course, I have A Theology of Liberation by Gustavo Gutierrez. This is, as far as I know, like the original text on liberation theology. He's the one that really fleshed out this theology by working with people who are in South America. The whole idea of liberation theology, as I understand it, as someone who has only read like half of this book, and it's been a couple of years, right? It is kind of about the idea that liberation has to be holistic, and looking at liberation like monetarily, particularly for nations that are colonized, is something that Christians should be striving for. Gustavo Gutierrez was a socialist. I'm not sure if he was a communist or not, but he was like a political activist as well, from my understanding. Like I said, I read about half of this book a couple of years ago. It's kind of one of those soft DNFs that I didn't really mean to have happen, but it happened. That happens a lot for me. So I would like to actually finish this. And then I have another one of his books on Job, God Talk and the Suffering of the Innocent. Like the title says, this is about Job, which is the book of the Bible. So I imagine it kind of gets into this a lot, and this seems like it would be super important, like talking about people who are suffering, especially since like liberation theology is about correcting that suffering and so forth. Next, I have some books that are African American liberation theology. Now, the liberation theology that I just talked about originated in South America, and African Americans have their own particular history with Christianity, especially with the legacy of slavery. So, I've got a few here. I've got The Cross and the Lynching Tree by James Cone. James Cone, from what I understand, is kind of one of the essential people to read if you're interested in Black liberation theology. I'm not totally sure what like specifically this hits on other than like explaining Black liberation theology, but I'm really looking forward to it. I've also got some Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, if you know anything about him, you'll know that he was a reverend. He referenced his religion in a lot of the stuff that he said. I didn't really pick this specific collection for any real reason. I think I had a couple. I've already read, or listened to rather, The Radical King, which is really good. And I have two other speech compilations. One of them went in my African American or people of color in the United States history. The other one went in religion. Now, this next book I am not too sure about. I did this research and compiled most of these books a while back. So I don't really remember what I found out about the people who wrote this book. But this is Reconciling All Things, A Christian Vision for Justice, Peace, and Healing. I know that at least one of the authors is from Uganda. And they both are co-directors for the Center for Reconciliation from Duke Divinity School. So I imagine it's going to talk about kind of the idea of like not personal reconciliation, but like reconciliation like as a society, reaching out to people who have been harmed. I think reconciliation is typically looking at Black people in the United States, but I know that it expands outside of that too. So this should be interesting. The next book that I have on this list is Our Lives Matter, A Womanist Queer Theology. I'm super interested in this. This is coming at, not only from a Black perspective, but looking at a womanist perspective. And I mean, I would imagine like queer woman perspective, but I know that queer theology is also a specific way of looking at the Bible that I'm really interested in. I actually started reading this last year at some point. I didn't get very far. because I was like flipping between books and stuff like that. This is small, but it is pretty dense, at least the beginning. But I'm still super stoked about it. Another book on womanist theology that I have that I forgot to mention because it's on ebook is Beyond Slavery, Overcoming Its Religious and Sexual Legacies, edited by Bernadette Boutin. I'm pretty sure this is an anthology, and it's, again, like looking specifically at womanist theology. Then we can move on to some gay theology. I've got Know My Name, a gay liberation theology, which is explaining what a gay liberation theology would look like. I know a little bit about gay liberation theology and queer theology just because a church that I've attended before, one of the reasons that I really liked it was because there would be sometimes where he would go through passages and talk about the different theological perspectives looking at a passage, and he would hit on queer perspectives. So I would like to see that expanded. Then I have Wonderfully, Fearfully Made, Letters on Living with Hope, Teaching, Understanding, and Ministering with Love from a Gay Catholic Priest with AIDS. This is by Robert L. Arpin. And this is one that I definitely got on a whim. Most of these, with the exception of a couple I'm going to talk about in a minute, I researched and chose. But this one I just happened to find at the used bookstore. I bought it for 75 cents. But it sounds like it could have some really important perspectives, especially looking at gay theology, and also looking at some of the other stuff that I've been looking into. You can see the HIV and AIDS TBR on the shelf behind me. Next, I have some feminist theology. Like I hinted at a second ago, I did not pick these out. I actually got these from a friend. They were moving. They'd gotten them for a class, and they were like, hey, I need to get rid of these. Who wants them? And I said, yes, free books. Can't say no. So I'm going to get through these at some point. First, I have Sharing Her Word, Feminist Biblical Interpretation in Context. Then we have Feminist Theology, Christian Theology in Search of Method. And then this, which is, it looks like an anthology probably, or just a textbook. But regardless, Sexism and God Talk Towards a Feminist Theology. So I would like to get through those. The first one that I'm probably going to finish is The Color of Compromise because I've already started it. And then after that, I'm probably going to focus on a theology of liberation. And then I'll go from there. But if you have any recommendations or any thoughts on these books, please put them in the comment box below. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.